everyone, welcome to another episode of the Heart Over Mind podcast with Eva. I'm really glad that you joined me again, and today I just want to get straight to it so that I don't waste your time and we can just enjoy the few minutes that we've got together. So today I want to talk about what is intelligence. Would you imagine when we say that word? I would say that a few years ago I would just imagine or think about the fact that, having a degree and a piece of paper to prove it meant that I was intelligent. Having had skills in maths and languages and, being able to look after myself was intelligence. And whilst I'm not saying that that's not true, there's also another part to intelligence, and that's emotional intelligence. And it's also a part that we often forget to talk about. And it baffles me as to why, because I only just sort of discovered the term in my recent studies. I never really heard about it. I never really read about it anywhere. And I feel like it's just not discussed enough. But what's important is that it's a massive part of us as people. It's a massive part of how we interact with others, how we interact with the world, and also how we interact with ourselves, how we behave in our own skin. So let's talk about that today, because I think it's really interesting, and I do really believe that that will help you move ahead in your development as a person, as well as a spiritual being, an emotional being, and also probably help you in a lot of relationships. So first of all, let's look at the brain really, and please don't be worried, it's not going to be too medical, but it's really important that we explore this first so that we can understand what is actually going on in our heads. So the brain has got many lobes, which I'm not going to go into, but it has two main hemispheres, the left and the right hemisphere. And the fact is that each hemisphere of the brain has a different function. It encapsulates different activities and our behaviors as well. So the left hemisphere is really focused on our logical thinking, our analysis, organization skills, administration, maths and science, knowledge and facts, and attention to detail. So it's really the analytic part of our brain, which we use day to day, really. And the right hemisphere then, the right side of the brain, is in control of emotion, intuition, spirituality, interpersonal skills, art and music, beliefs, and the big picture. And the reason it may sound quite abstract is because the left hemisphere is dominant in most people, which means that most of us only use majority of our time the left hemisphere, and we really leave the right hemisphere behind. And why is this problematic? Well, because obviously if you think about it on a deeper level, we're always being analytic. If we put it into context, we think about things with our rationality rather than with our heart. And this is really where my name comes into play as well. That's why I wanted to really engage the heart, the right hemisphere a bit more, because that's where emotional intelligence stems from. So how come we don't use the right hemisphere as much as we use the left one? Well, it's pretty simple. It's because we as people have lost skills to use the emotionality, to use that bigger picture view on life as we walk through the society, as we, have day-to-day interactions which require us to have rational thinking, the analysis of situations, and just really calculations of what's going on. It's really turned into that mechanical side of things. I don't want to say it in a nasty way, but we sort of become robots. Our brain is just working without us even knowing. It's completely subconscious, and it's affecting us in a way that we are basically functioning on a pre-programmed manufacturer setup, basically. And why did I want to discuss this? Why is it important that we start rediscovering the function of our right hemisphere? And how much does it actually do for us? Why should we even do it? What's the point? Well, the thing is that psychologists such as Carl Jung, I don't know if you've ever heard of him, if not, that's absolutely fine, it's just a very famous psychologist and theorist, said that we have this thing called the shadow in us. And it sounds kind of scary, it's not, but in essence, it means that we have these parts of us that we don't like about ourselves. And what we tend to do with that information is we try to fight it. So let's say, for example, you know that you have a bad habit, you know that you're bad at a specific thing, and the way you want to sort that out, the way you approach it unconsciously, is that you fight it in the world. So if you find someone else with that habit, chances are you will not like that person very much because you mirror yourself in that person. And obviously this may work for a little while because, you will cut yourself off of people that you don't like in life and that you don't get on with. But the thing is, you're not healing whatever is in you that's causing this emotion. So what this psychologist has said is that we need to really realize what is this problem within us. So if you know that you have a particularly bad habit, for example, you get very angry easily, it's very important that you start working on this to try and develop yourself enough that you can get rid of this emotion and take control over that unconscious part of your brain so that it no longer drives your life. And this is exactly what emotional intelligence is about. We need to improve our right hemisphere functionality to develop this ability to control our emotions, to control our interactions with people, and to be able to have sustainable relationships. Well, and how do you do this? Obviously, that's probably one of the important questions here. And I would say, from my own experience, it was really focusing on the abstract things in life. So that's things like arts, crafts. For me, it's making videos, doing a podcast episode, doing my meditation videos, drawing, for example, going out into the nature and just experiencing the abstract things where you turn off that left hemisphere of your brain and you force basically the right hemisphere to take over. And I must say, in the beginning, it was very hard. Because you're not used to it. If you function like this most of your life or all of your life, it's very difficult, like I said in the previous episodes, to step out of your comfort zone. But again, it's just about the practice side of things. It's just about doing it. It didn't take me a day to all of a sudden be completely positive and, developing myself personally and emotionally. It took me some time and it takes practice, and I'm still not there. I'm still working on it every single day. So emotional intelligence then is just a valid pinnacle point in our lives that drives us to become better people, and also it gives us the opportunity to increase the functionality of our brain. I don't want to go into conspiracy theories here, but the less you use your brain, the less amount of brain mass you use, the more you are likely to be controlled, the more you're likely to be susceptible to messages from the news, from whoever's sending us messages here. So that's another driver for me to improve that side of my brain. And I hope this made sense. I try to make it as basic as possible. It's very complex. So if you are knowledgeable about this subject, I'm sure that you'll tell me that I've missed out loads of facts, but I just really wanted to make that point blank that the right side of your hemisphere and emotional intelligence are really what drives you forward. It's not all about having that piece of paper in your hand, saying you're a nurse, you're a psychologist, because that doesn't help you in life if you don't have emotional intelligence. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. Thank you so much for joining me again, and I'll be looking forward to seeing you next time. Whatever you're doing, wherever you are, have a lovely day.